Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as always, we'll be getting to the video game chit-chat in just a little bit, and it is going to be a conversation with Randall, John, and I, digging into all sorts of stuff. I know I said last Save It for the Cast that we're going to have some more cherry-picked conversations coming from that long conversation before the recording session that Randall and I had a few weeks back where it was just the two of us, and I'm definitely still planning on pulling some stuff from there, but some of the stuff that we talked about was like kind of too good to pass up after like we dig into some Tunic and some Kirby and a little bit of Elden Ring like before we got rolling last week. So I figured it would be a good week to share that stuff this week. But as always, I got to talk about a little indie game action, or I guess just video game action in general. But on the topic of indie games, and I know I've been mentioning our Pursuing Pixels James Jam Game Gam a few times in the previous Save It for the Cast episodes, but yeah, the Game Jam is underway, and I think last edition of the Save It for the Cast, I said we were at about 70-ish people signed up or entrants to the jam, and as of right now, which is the jam ends tomorrow, or by the time you're listening to this today, as of right now, we are at hovering around. It keeps like going just below and then bumping just above, but we've been at right around 200 entrants to the jam. I don't think we'll see 200 games at the end, but we've got about a dozen submitted already from some of our favorite developers like Super Try, Kevin Cole, who we've had on the podcast of Super Try. Not to make it extra confusing there, but Francis Vase of Trash Quest and Trash Pit, which I've been playing a ton of Trash Pit lately. Really addictive action arcade game, although I'm not going to dig into that here. But yeah, I've been having a ton of fun. I really can't wait. I'm going to be doing some streams of the Game Jam entries all next week, pretty much, or at least for the first half of the week. So I'm really looking forward, and voting's open to everyone. So I'll have links in the video description to where you can check out all the submissions, and yeah, definitely encourage you to check out the games, both for the Game Jam and voting purposes, but also for the fact that the stuff coming in, like Sebastian Lind on the Pico 8 has submitted something, Ando, who from OSAT Games, from Go Go Pogo Girl. Like, we got some seriously heavy hitters participating in this Game Jam, so I'm beyond humbled and flattered by the turnout and the participation. It's just been a ton of fun hanging in the Discord, getting all sorts of progress updates. I was really kind of worried that this was maybe going to end up being a bust if we hosted a Game Jam, and it's like I'm already thinking of like, when can we host another one of these? So at the very least, I'm definitely hoping to do another one, or planning on it for our 4-year anniversary, but if not, maybe something sooner. So keep your ear to the ground and your eyes peeled, because we'll definitely be keeping you posted. But I did want to give a shout out to a couple games kind of normal style as well, because I did get a chance. I know I've mentioned Rusted Moss on the podcast in the past when I actually checked out the demo when it first launched, but and I mentioned that because it's another grappling hook game. So after we dug into a little deeper into Grapple Dog, I just kind of gave a quick shout out to Rusted Moss, and the developers FaxDoc and Happy Squared, or at least are like the 2-person team that's working on the game, actually were hanging out in the stream, and I'm pretty sure that I mentioned that before, and they noticed that I was playing on a gamepad, and it's definitely a game that's meant to be more of like it's a 2D side-scrolling platformer, metroidvania with some gorgeous pixel art, really atmospheric like vibes all around, and the music's great. And yeah, they were looking for more playtesters who could play on gamepad, because it is really, I just can't play with keyboard and mouse controls to save my life when it comes to an action game. But yeah, they were like, we need some more playtesters, and they happened to say I was one of the better, if not the best, not to toot my own horn, at the gamepad of the few other people that they played with. Like, I actually saw my way through to the end of the demo. I guess some of the other players ended up switching to mouse and keyboard. I don't have that luxury. It's not any disability or anything on my end, other than the fact that I just can't do it for whatever reason. My brain just can't click. I'm sure I'd get there if I had enough practice, but anyways, I got to play a new section of the game that I believe they have a new demo coming out next month. So I'm assuming, or in June, so very soon here, but I'm assuming we're going to see some of that section this section in that new upcoming demo. But it just was an extension on what I already played of the demo, and it's just cemented this as one of my most anticipated games. Even though I'm not the biggest Metroidvania fan, I really like how, because I just tend to, as much as I like a 2D platformer, I just tend to get a little more lost and tend to lean into stuff that's a little more focused, I guess, with the level design. Like, even lately, I've been playing Yoshi's Crafted World on Switch. I even did some streams of that, and I'm like, man, as much as I love Yoshi's Island, I kind of prefer to play these more linear, like Woolly World and Crafted World. But I'll dig into Crafted World on a further episode with Randall and John when we get to dig into some stuff. But Yeah, Rusted Moss is just coming together really nicely. The grappling hook feels really unique. It's more of like an elastic, like rubber band. You can almost like kind of slingshot yourself, and you can even grapple to the enemies. I know I said that in the podcast before, but just a really, really cool game. And then another couple quick games I just wanted to give a quick shout out to. One of the games, another game that was developed during a game jam, though not during our game jam, is called Moonleap. And I played this game recently. It's got like maybe 16 levels, and it's a short and sweet. I'm kind of hoping, just because it's such a cool concept and such a cute game, I'm kind of hoping they develop it further, or maybe realize it into like a fully realized game, although it definitely still feels like one, albeit short and sweet. But it's got like a really cool Game Boy Color aesthetic. It's just a 2D side-scrolling puzzle platformer, but more like an arena puzzle platformer where like the entire stage fits on one single screen. And it's just got some really clever level design, really cool mechanics, again, that I'd love to see expanded further, but it definitely still feels like a short and sweet, cohesive little piece. And it's, yeah, just got gorgeous, like very Game Boy Color-esque on the pixel art, and I just love it, love the music. Really cool game that I'm definitely like, I'm going to have to keep an eye on this developer, because whether it's more Moonleap or just something else, I'm definitely very much anticipating seeing more from them. And then I did want to give a shout out to another game that kind of just popped into on our Steam curator. Every once in a while we get sent random games, and usually it's like, oh, nah, I probably won't have time for this, but the developer of Lulu's Temple actually sent us a copy of that game, and it kind of piqued my interest. And I actually, again, I kind of thought this was going to be more of a puzzly metroidvania, just the style of the game. It's like kind of like an old, like ancient Egyptian temple that you're kind of exploring, or I guess I don't know 100% for sure that it's Egyptian, but it's just some kind of ancient temple that you're exploring. And you basically can't see much around you. And there's even some mechanics that come into play where like certain enemies will, if you basically are carrying a torch around that you can kind of throw, you can aim it in 360 degrees, and you can kind of lock yourself in place Metroid style, where you can, kind of angle on a diagonal or aim on a diagonal, or in this case, I guess, again, with 360 degree aim, and you can either throw your torch or you have a regular kind of pistol that's almost like a little bit of an Uzi or a machine gun. It's definitely pretty powerful, and you can charge that up and blast away. But the game just has so much retro style in the best way. It's just like, it's got this really great, like almost like Paper Mario-esque like 2D effect, where like when your character sprite flips over or changes directions, like it does like a full like flat flip. I don't know how else to describe it other than to just call it kind of like Paper Mario. But it's just like a really cool set of mechanics, a really cool vibey adventure that like leads up to like a really fun boss battle, and then kind of a chase sequence at the end of the game. And it was like just short and sweet, which is so my style. I ended up playing through the whole game on a stream in like an hour and a half or so, maybe even a little bit less. But I guess my only gripe was like with the game, and it's not even really a gripe, but just the incentive. Like I would easily play it again if there was like some collectibles I missed. It's like such a short, focused experience. Because again, I was expecting a little bit more of a Metroidvania situation, but it was like, okay, just clear this level, find the key, it is like a little bit of an open-ended exploration on each individual level. But then when you clear that level, you get like sucked up to the next floor, and then on the escape sequence, you're kind of like, making your way out of the pyramid or the temple or whatever. So it's just such a cool, singularly focused adventure. I really wanted to give that one a shout out. I know it's, some people are like, oh, games are too short these days, but I'm a sucker for an hour, 2 hour long game any day. And it's I know that I mentioned that the developer sent this one to us, but it's only a $5 game otherwise. So it is something that like, if I see it pop up on Switch or something, I'll definitely be like, you know what? I would like to experience that adventure again. 'Cause it's just, I don't know how to give it more. I don't know what other praise to lay on top of it other than to just say it was just such a well-focused and well-designed, like all the puzzles were really fun and challenging, like made you feel clever, but not like beating your head against the wall. Just really well-balanced game. I can't really heap enough praise on top of it. That's the phrase I was looking for before. But yeah, I've been playing all sorts of games, been getting back on like my video making train and streaming train, been feeling a little better in the chronic pain department lately, thanks to staying a little more focused on my physical therapy regimen and everything. I've been, just kind of putting all my focus into that lately outside of the game stuff. So I think I'm going to leave it there for the intro here. And Randall, John, and I have plenty of game stuff and chit chat to get to. We're definitely heavy on the games, not too much basketball talk this week. But we do get into a few sidetrack conversations. Definitely a really, really fun one. This one was a blast to edit. So we'll be back at you next week. It'll actually be our 3-year anniversary episode, and we'll maybe have some updates coming soon on the podcast for the Game Jam stuff, but for the Pursuing Pixels Game Jam stuff, that is. So definitely stay tuned. Check out the links in the episode description here if you want to check out some of the entries. We'd love to get some feedback, as I'm sure the developers would as well. But until next week, we'll catch you then, and take care.
My grandparents never had cable, so and they lived in Chicago, so anytime I would visit them and my grandpa would be watching the Cubs, it would just be on antenna. It would just be adjusting rabbit ears until you get it in the best position, and then
hell yeah.
AM radio in the morning, and then antenna TV,
hell yeah.
Why would you pay for anything else? You get you get all the things you need.
That's right, and you can tape it on the down low, if you want to watch it later. It's a real grandpa move too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, speaking of the Chicago land area, I think John, isn't this where you're from? Or not from, but where Bloomington? Where is that? Bloomington, Illinois.
Bloomington is central. It's north central. It's
anywhere near, or is that where Lauren went to school or something? Or
no, Bloomington Normal.
No, that's DeKalb.
Yeah, Bloomington Normal is straight south of Chicago. It's halfway between here and it's a little bit closer to Champaign, but it's pretty close.
Okay, because that's apparently where some of the stuff takes place, at least related to one character in Stephanie. When I was playing that, they were and they're aren't you the guy from the Bloomington office? And then they're I used to. They even make a joke about how it's lit right next to Normal, Illinois, or something like that. So it's very, I don't know. I just thought that was very bizarre.
That's
what
cute.
are the chances?
That's such a weird.
That's in this game. Yeah,
isn't? I thought it was a sci-fi-ish game.
It's definitely I'm in some cave in some alternate universe, and then this random guy just shows up and's hey, I'm the guy. Hey, aren't you the guy from the Bloomington office? And it's just yeah, that's me. It's very confusing at the moment.
Nice.
But I'm not loving it so far. It's a little clunky on the controls, but I'm looking forward to giving it a little more of a shot because I loved Anodyne so much. I'm and that game was clunky too, admittedly. Did I talk about that one on the podcast?
Oh yeah. Have you played
Anodyne?
Anodyne 2
Pretty sure I gushed
yet?
about it. Yeah. I haven't really. No, I was going to play that, and then Stephanie came out right after that, and I was or right as I was about to start it up, so I was I'll check out the newest one first, but
sure.
I do really want to play Anodyne 2 bad.
Yeah, I want to set some time aside and actually play Anodyne 2.
Oh, did you grab that game?
Oh, yeah.
No rush, but let me know whenever you want to check that one out, and I'll happily sync up on that.
Yeah, I'll
Grab it
probably
on
stop
Switch, I'm
playing Elden Ring in about 5 months.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
I'm not going to stop playing this game.
Uh-huh.
We're going to get into it on the cast, but oh boy.
I'm surprised, you play games pretty methodically, games that at least, so you're I could see it lasting you a long time.
Yeah, I'm only 70 hours
imagine.
in. That's nothing.
Oh my God. I can't imagine playing that much of a game and then being I'm going to keep playing this.
I don't want to.
I played Dark Souls, every mainline Dark Souls game for 200 hours. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those don't even have
a
fraction of the content that's in Elden Ring.
That's correct.
I cannot. Oh my, we're gonna get into it. We are.
Yeah. I wonder if I get to a point where my pain's a little more in check, because even when I do the streams, they're almost whether I'd mean them to be a certain amount of time or not, they always last almost the same amount of time. And whether I'm streaming or not, all my sessions are exactly about an hour and a half or 2 hours. And then it's I wonder if I'm maybe feeling better at some point, if I'll be more, because I haven't like dove into a bigger game in a long time that I know is going to take more than 5 or 8 hours, because I just know it's not like I'm just not going to get to it.
Right.
So finish it.
On that topic, would you want to talk Tunic on the main episode, or just have it like as a little save for the cast discussion?
Either or. I was literally just going to bring up Tunic because I was going to say, yeah, let's say what you got to say about Tunic.
Yeah, because I've been watching, Run Button's been doing streams on it for the past couple weeks, and so it's just been hours and hours of Tunic, and
they're just doing a full playthrough essentially.
Kind of, but they're not they're keeping you up to date on their because they're playing it off stream as well. And they're also Kylie and Keith are each playing their own separate files, so they're both progressing at different level or rates as well. But that is kind of, it's a really chill stream, because it's a lot of just exploring and poking and prodding, and
I was loving streaming it when I played. I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah, so it is kind of a really good I don't know, relaxing game. And they're also streaming it at 4 a.m. So I'm never catching them live. I'm catching them at video on demand. So of course, it's a very sleepy vibe of just relaxing. But it is that is a game that I really kind of enjoy experiencing, but I don't really feel any pull to play it. It's, I get what the puzzle, what the satisfying parts of it would be in terms of figuring out the world and getting the pieces of the manual in the game and trying to decode it. But honestly, when they were trying to when they were just sitting down, they weren't even playing the game, they were just looking and trying to figure out if they could decode the in-game language. And compare it as okay, I think that this word would be to, or this one is probably press. And so if we can extrapolate that, it doesn't look like it's a cipher for English, where it's oh, this is this is a letter that matches C. This is a letter that matches. It's okay, how is this language work? And honestly, what I was way more interested in was the idea of ooh, I would rather just get all of the pages of the untranslated manual and just try to figure out the language. I don't really want to play the game. I just want to figure out the linguistics of this made up language. And
sounds
that,
about right.
But that is also part of the game. That is what Tunic is. It's both an in-game and an out-of-game experience where you're thinking about the puzzles outside of actually playing it. And that is the thing that I think is really interesting to me, and it's more interesting than the idea of doing both of them together. I'm just ooh, I would really want to see what grammar is with this made up language.
I'm curious how they were going about approaching it, because I definitely don't, at least the way I was playing, it wasn't anything I was really deciphering the language. I never felt like there was any real need to decipher the language in real time, other than the basic verbs that you're just quickly kind of intuiting, okay, clearly this interacts with this, so let me see what that does, and then you can just kind of try it and learn it yourself. But it almost felt kind of how, I don't, did you ever play Fez?
Yes,
because I know a lot of people are comparing it to Fez, and if you beat Fez, beat Fez or whatever, there's a whole second game of Fez basically that you solve these super esoteric puzzles that do involve some doing things outside of the game, not, I don't think you have to go on a website or anything, but I think there even are QR codes and weird
so
stuff in
more.
Fez where all these this whole second set of cubes basically. And I wonder if I don't know, because I haven't played enough Tunic, and I'm really glad that you brought it up, because I was actually just thinking today if I don't get back to that soon, I don't know if I'm ever gonna keep that momentum going,
right?
And I really do love that world, but I do know it's gonna be a good chunk of time, and it's hard. It's definitely a hard game, though. I can turn on the no damage mode, but I'm stubborn when it comes to stuff like that for the most part. But yeah, I'm curious if it would be if you could get a good experience still just kind of playing the game and then kind of deciphering it as an post game puzzle, if you will, and just kind of being I wonder what I can get out of it.
I do think it is something that the stuff, like you can at least like decipher like some of the more explicit things, like when like it like just says like a and then like a word in whatever the thing is, like that is like very self-explanatory. Is like I get like, oh, you want me to press this button combination in order to do this thing that you're showing me, but not necessarily like I don't need to sit down and decode this sentence or this phrase. So like I think that it probably does give you enough that you don't need to. But again, if you want to do that separately, like that might solve some things earlier for you. It might give you a clue. Right. But like, oh man, they got to this one point where there was like a handwritten note from like the player on the manual, and it looked like it was either correcting something that the manual, so it may have also been like a misprint in the manual.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was like, oh, this is so good. That is such a good thing. Like, because then you are like suddenly you're second guessing like what is the information is being presented to you. It's so good. Just that's amazing. Yeah. What?
I'm like, do you think that like do you think you're not as compelled to want to play it because you're just more intrigued by that second layer of the game? Like, do you think if it didn't have that layer and you just saw it in action, do you think you'd feel the same way? Like, or if you saw like Death's Door in action, would you feel like, oh, I gotta play that? Or would you be like, oh, okay, I kind of saw enough of that in action? Like, is it part of just like, I've seen enough? Or I'm just kind of curious what would make it be like because they are very similar playing games. So I'm just curious is it just that second layer is like, oh, that's just the more compelling part of it, and like I wish I could just crack that code.
I think part of it was the fact like, okay, this is on Steam and Game Pass.
Yeah, I think it's I think so.
And I was like, I'm not really gonna play it on my computer, like I'm not really going to play this game, and it's not because it wasn't immediately available. If it was on Switch, I probably would have turned off the streams like first like hour and just be like, no, I got to do this. But because there is that level of like, I'm probably not going to play this. That's basically the main reason. Like, because if I could like just play it on Switch, like I probably would do all of it. But because I'm not doing it, I'm just like, I'm only really interested in the part that I could feasibly do without playing the game.
Right. No, that's cool though too.
Yeah, but
that's sweet.
It's a cool looking game. It's a cool looking idea.
Yeah, just a really great aesthetic and vibe, and that sleepy morning vibe that they got going for their streams and stuff sounds perfect for that game too.
Especially with that soundtrack.
I literally was just gonna say, did you get a little taste of the music too? Because it's just
synth arpeggios, soft synth arpeggios over and over again. It's
the music is it's got its own thing going on, but it's got a similar vibe going on in Symphony, and that's a big part of why I'm like, I can deal with some of this clunk and this frustration, and like, because some of the jumps are just like, man, why did I miss that? I don't know why I'm missing this jump, or like it's just a little like awkward to control, but maybe I'll get used to it because it does have a very like kind of distinct control scheme. Mm-hmm. Like when you hold down the sprint button, it even says like, think of it more like you're skateboarding rather than you're sprinting, and I'm like. Okay, because you actually like hold it down and then just essentially steer your character once you're sprinting. It's got a weird vibe, and then you can wall run and stuff. So I get why they're like thinking of skateboarding, but it's a weird game. Weird game so far in a multitude of ways, not just the way it plays. Mm-hmm. Like it's just a weird game.
Nice.
I was getting pumped too because there's like 3 playable characters. So I was like, oh, we're gonna get some Lost Vikings vibes, and then it was like, all 3 characters are exactly the same. Just play as whichever one you want to play as, which is kind of cool too. Like, oh, okay, I don't have to sit here and like rack my brain. And some of those games, like Randall, you and I were just talking about Lost Vikings 2 the other day, and I think that game maybe pushed it a little further than the first one did, maybe just trying to do more. But I remember those like levels being like kind of tedious and just being like,
it's even bigger.
It's like
and
a grind.
It kind of broke the balance a little bit.
Yeah, when like every level's like a mini metroidvania in and of itself, it's like, oh god, it's tedious.
This is no longer as fun.
Yeah.
And we've already gone through this once and it's not different enough.
Right. And it's got a little too much tood.
Well,
little too much
game.
tude.
It's gonna have tude.
Oh yeah, especially wasn't that on 32X? Like, didn't that come out on Sega Genesis, like, or
Saturn.
Sega CD or something?
Came out on Saturn.
That's right. We talked about that last week.
Super
I could've sworn it was
Nintendo,
32X.
Saturn, and PlayStation, and it was called different things depending on the platform, which was weird.
Great.
Yeah,
North
I
by
would've
Northwest on Saturn and PlayStation, and I think it was just the Lost Vikings 2 on Super Nintendo.
I believe you're correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta love that play on words. That they had to do twice.
Yeah.
North by Northwest.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yeah.
Oh brother,
Yeah.
but great game, great games.
Yeah. I think they re-released all those relatively recently. At least the first Lost Vikings was in that.
I think so too. Yeah,
That Blizzard thing, the retro games.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was resisting the urge to talk about how in Commander Keen I deciphered that language because I thought that I had talked about Commander Keen on the podcast before, and I couldn't remember if I had talked about that before, so I didn't say it.
I don't know if you have talked
think
about
you
Commander
have.
Keen.
So, oh really? Jeez,
I don't think so.
we've had a lot of
I can't-
episodes. It turns out.
Yeah, I know. I can never. I'm like that. Even Anodyne. I'm like, did I play that before we started the podcast?
Yeah, I know.
Or no, I don't remember.
No, because there's an alien language in the Commander Keen games as well, and because school is lax with the school computers, especially back in the day, you just
Yeah.
bring the little small Commander Keen games on your 3.5 discs into school, and you put them on the school computer so that everybody can play them. And you're a nerd, so you crack the language that's in the Commander Keen game so that everyone can read what's on the signs.
That rules.
That's amazing. Was there anything worthwhile? Like, was it worth cracking the code?
Oh, it was ultimately pretty simple stuff, but I was in whatever that was, like 4th, 5th grade type.
Yeah,
of
that's
range,
cool
so,
as hell.
yeah, that's awesome. Plus, yeah, you get some little Easter eggs, like some early Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, because you're just like picking up on context clues of like, I think this sign is telling me this. Oh, okay, like if I start and I see this like alien letters in this sign too, and like, so that means this letter of the alphabet, and start going backwards that way.
Yeah,
I wish I had that much time. I don't have that much time anymore.
Speaking of old school computer games, I saw that you booted up Chex Quest recently.
Yes.
I was on the Switch the other day, and I was like, ooh, like, as I was like jotting down stuff I was like, did I forget anything that Randall played recently? I was like, obviously, I know you didn't put a ton of time into it, but I was like, ooh, he picked it up.
I did.
Picked it up.
It was I forgot to tell you guys. It might even still be on sale. It's in one of those like weird publisher sales where if you own one of the other games, you can get it for like 99 cents or whatever.
Yeah.
So worth looking in the eShop if y'all have any interest.
Yeah.
If you have
I'll
one
scoop
of
it
those
up
games,
for sure because I never played it, and I'd definitely be curious to get a little slice. Even it's like a remake, right? Like it's not just.
It's like kind of just cleaned up. I think a little bit. I don't know if it's all that remade necessarily.
Runs at 60
Okay.
frames per second.
Seems like it. Although I didn't have a lot of time to dig into it, and I tried to like open a door, and I'm like, I kind of forget how to do this, and it's not working. So I don't have time to figure that out right now. Let me come back to this, and also I need to play more Elden Ring.
It's impossible to play anything else.
Yes.
Ah, man, I wish I had a game like that could just suck me in these days, but maybe I got to go back to Tunic. That's the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of what we're going to talk about tonight, what order? Obviously, we just got the two things on the docket. So Kirby first, Elden Ring second, or the other way around?
Yeah, let's
Probably.
do it that way.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's what I was thinking too. I wasn't even really thinking it for any particular reason, but I guess it makes sense since we have talked about Elden before.
And it's going to be more. Yeah, Elden will be a little more I mean, both of them will. For what that's
Yeah.
worth, but
Yeah, I guess they both will, which is why it's nice to just. I think we said that last week too, Randall. We were just like, yeah, probably just the two games.
yeah.
This
Oh
week.
yeah.
We got like the
Plenty.
double curveball last week. Went from being like, okay, we got the 4-pack
I know.
for the first time in ages, and then like, oh, Randall, what are we going to talk about, man? But we ended up talking about like some of the Genesis games. Like now that I'm on Randall's family plan, I can't even remember what the other stuff we talked about. Shotgun King. I talked about that some more. Some Stack Lands. You would love Stack Lands, John.
I've seen it. It looks very much.
Every time I play it, I'm like, this is a John game. Talk about a like morning chill coffee stream game. I've done that a couple times with that game, just like sipping on some coffee and stacking some cards and crafting.
Okay.
That game's just sounded amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I keep forgetting it's Kirby and the Forgotten Land, right?
Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Yep.
I keep wanting to say realm for some reason.
It is not a realm, it is a land.
Kirby and the Forgotten Realm. That feels just more like a Kirby universe word.
Yeah, I guess
So does land.
But land is,
Dreamland. Yeah.
Yep.
There was a great quiz that someone posted where it was, is this song title from the Kirby series or the Toho series? And it was all just like cosmic, like fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
I kind of forget about some of those like themes, like the late turns in Kirby games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Good
in
stuff.
every one, basically.
Pretty much, except for like some of the spin-off ones.
Yeah.
But
I was going to be
even
is
in
this,
some of those, though.
Is this the first Kirby game with land in the name on what's effectively a home console as opposed to a portable, even though Switch kind of splits the difference in the first place?
Dreamland 3.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, never mind. That threw that right out. Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty quickly.
John's always championing it. John's always championing that game, and I'm on board now too. We got to get Randall on the Dreamland 3 train.
I mean, Kirby 64 is just a Dreamland 3 remake.
Is it really?
It's basically like there are so.
I've never
I think
played one at all.
I've brought it up on this. Like
You
when I
can't
first
combine
played.
abilities in
No,
Dreamland 3,
you
though.
can't. But the
But, like, the
enemies
levels are the same?
The themes of the levels are the same. The kind of like ways that you would get these secrets in the levels are like they're not the same puzzles, but it's like kind of the same ideas where it's like, oh, you have to do X amount of things in a level to get the secret. We should probably save this for the cast.
They're both
Actually, no.
games,
This isn't really pertinent to the other one, but the bosses are also the same, which
Okay.
is wild.
So it's like the same. It's like the same structure,
yeah,
but just with some tweaks and upgrades and whatever. But
it's just such a weird
Interesting.
experience having like Kirby 64 is one of my favorite games of all time.
I've never played it even for a split
No
second.
shit.
I'm pretty sure I own it, but I've never played it, not even for a moment.
Wow.
I don't know
It's
why.
fun as fuck. Like
It's cool.
yeah, the combining abilities is just something that makes the game just so fun. Like in the there's
Back in the day, just the novelty of seeing Kirby in 3D was fun. But then combining abilities on top of that was fun too.
God,
There is something about it. Well, we'll get into it when we talk about some Kirby because there's just something about a Kirby game.
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it.
There
Because
is
it's like,
just something about a Kirby game.
I don't know, just feeling like you're plugged into some part of society.
Yeah. So I haven't taken the plunge because I don't have a spare outlet or HDMI port.
I know it.
But
I know
like,
that feeling.
God,
Yep, I know that feeling too. I was like looking for a spot to plug in my vacuum the other day. Like, where did I plug this in last?
but I kind of really want to get an antenna for like just local sports. Like that's
Hell yeah.
Basically all I would use it for, because like I don't want to get like another fucking subscription to something, and like I do not care if it's like what quality the picture is, to be honest. Like I would just like to watch like a local sports game. Or
do you
something.
have a USB port on your television?
I do.
So you should be able to power a flat indoor antenna off of USB power from your TV, and otherwise it just goes into your aux input on your TV, and you should be good to go. The only downside is it would turn on when you turn on your TV, so there might be like a couple second delay for it to pick up, you know?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So
Yeah, you've been an advocate for the antenna for a long time.
I've been
Randall.
rolling that since probably like 15 years.
I remember that one you had back at one of your old places, like that huge.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was huge, but it was like a pretty
huge.
big like wire rack. Like it was definitely like you gotta have room for this thing. Now they're like, I think the ones you're talking about are like kind of almost like almost like a sheet of paper,
Yes.
almost like a fly paper.
Yes, that you
Something
just throw
like,
up on the
stick to
wall where
window.
you get good signal and you're good.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
so much.
it's
It's
wild.
way more elegant now.
And they get like picture perfect
it's
HD.
awesome.
Like there's some interference and some interruptions here and there, but that happens even if you pay for cable.
But that
They're
was
pretty
like
high powered these days, though. It's pretty like that's what I use now is just the modern like a piece of paper. You stick it on the wall in a place where it seemed like it was getting good signal. There it goes. Never
Yeah.
have to think about it again.